Welcome to Shape the Podcast, a podcast all about maintaining mental health by sharing stories from those who have overcome negative experiences and feelings, then turned them into something positive. Meet your host.
Oh, hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Shape the Podcast. You know me by now, and if you don't, then you're hiding underneath a rock. I'm Mustacheless Kyle. That's right. And then my counterpart, who can't make up his mind whether or not he wants to have a mustache or not. What is up, sir? How are you?
I am fantastic. It's been what was it been? We recorded one last week, but it's been a little while since I've been on the air, so
it has been.
Good to be back.
It's been over a month. Okay, let's just be honest.
Oh, who are you kidding?
With you being on a live episode, it has been a month, but we did record one last Thursday night, which will air in the next couple weeks. I'm saying probably, I don't know, the January the 17th, which will be our next episode that we would go live on.
January the 17th?
Or not January, October. Sorry, I'm already thinking about January. October 7th.
Listen, 3/4 of the way gone. Don't push it.
Yes. October 17th.
This year's gone fast.
Yeah. October 17th, which would be our next live. That one is going to be a pre-recorded episode because that is the weekend of mine and my wife's 4th wedding anniversary. So yeah, it's on the 20th, which is a Monday. Boo! So we're celebrating that weekend. She wants to go She wants to go to a new Italian restaurant that just opened up, not too far from where we live at. So that's probably where we're gonna go. And who knows what may happen or what may not happen. I don't know.
I got an Italian restaurant story for you.
Right,
I always loved Italian food, but I was never one to go out to an Italian restaurant because for some reason in my reptilian brain, my thought process was, why am I going to pay $25 for pasta? I could buy a box of Ronzoni in the grocery store and make it at home for nothing. So Italian restaurants are never in my routine.
Yeah.
Well, there's this place about 20 minutes away that is so old school Italian that before you even get the order, they're just bringing food to your table. Like sauteed mussels, a whole platter full of sauteed mussels. And then you get the bruschetta, and then you get the antipasto. And after all that shit's put down, and they've probably brought you 5 or 6 shots of limoncello, then the waiter comes over and says, "So what would you guys like to order?"
Nothing.
No, I just came for the free stuff.
Yeah.
Amazing place. Tons and tons and tons of food.
I just came for the table service, which is extraordinary. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if I'd be able to eat after all that.
Listen, I can eat. You've seen me eat.
Yeah.
But I bring more food home than I consume at the restaurant. It is ridiculous how much they give you. And so the serving portions are massive, but the food is great on top of it. It's not like they're feeding you a pile of garbage. It's good food.
Yeah.
And it's cheap.
So it's kind of like what's that real like chain restaurant, Buca di Beppo, where they so they're here in Ohio. There's a chain Italian restaurant called Buca di Beppo, and it's family style, but they bring you all this food, and like you might have like 2 or 3 of you, and there's no way that you're gonna eat this all because it's all family style.
Yeah.
So. It's kind of like that, but yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
But yeah, so yeah, it has been a little bit since you've been on. Welcome back to an actual live. Okay. I'm glad that your wife.
I know I've been missed. I could feel it.
I'm glad that your wife did not have plans, or if she did, she just decided not to include you in them.
Actually, I had to kick her out of the office here 20 minutes ago in order for me to have my seat.
How dare you?
Hey, it is what it is. We all have our place, and this was my time for my place.
Right.
I'm a peacock. You got to let me fly.
Speaking of peacock, what is up with the hair? Are you gonna let it go?
So it's I just got out of the shower 2 hours ago or so, and I didn't brush it, so it's just kind of a wavy mess there.
Yeah, you got your natural color showing. Are you?
My roots are coming through.
Yeah.
I don't even know which way to turn, but yeah, my roots are coming through. The red is faded to a beautiful orangey pink. Yeah.
If I were your business partner, if I were Doc, I would be ashamed to show my face around you right now.
Well, I think he should be embarrassed to be around me at all times because I'm just so glorious in every which way there is. I mean, I set the bar here.
That is true. That is true. You said it here, and then he just edges it a little bit, and then
no. First of all,
it's a back and forth thing.
He doesn't edge me. We have to be very careful with terminology here.
That is true. That is true. Look,
before this goes too far,
we just lost our one viewer thanks to that. So there's a beard event tomorrow here in Ohio that I'm going to, and one of my buddies, Anthony Cardi, is coming in from California to go to it. And we were talking earlier, and he said something, and the wordage, he's like, let me correct that. Because he's like, nobody does this. I'm like, all right, I'm glad you corrected your wording because it just totally came up wrong. Mm-hmm. So and it had a sexual meaning when he worded it wrong. But
yeah,
speaking of,
he was one of a couple of guys that I wanted to have some time to really get to meet. I think I only got to shake his hand and a quick introduction in passing, but he was one of a couple that I didn't get the time with that I was hoping to get to meet, a little more personally than I did.
At Worlds?
Next time. At Worlds, yeah.
Yeah, he
because I love the crazy stuff he does. It's amazing what he comes up with.
And he's just a cool, calm natured dude, with these crazy beard things. But speaking of guys that are crazy and calm and have a beard, our guest tonight, he's got a podcast himself, which I got to check out because he reviews bands, and it's Ohio bands of all things. I don't know why Ohio bands. Maybe we'll get into that. Why it's just Ohio bands. I don't know. But Richard Johnson, aka Bald Guys React, is our guest tonight, and I'm very excited to have him come on. He sent us his novel, his synopsis, and I gave him a hard time about it because most time people will send us a little paragraph. Nah, this guy sent us some.
We usually have to fight to get things out of people.
Yes, not tonight
to find out their story.
I don't think we'll have that problem tonight with his story that he sent us. But let's go ahead and bring him on. And there he is.
Hey,
what's up, sir?
How's it going?
Good, man. Welcome to the podcast.
Good to meet the both of you.
Nice to meet you as well.
I'm sure you heard us talking. So why is it, before you introduce yourself, why is it that you only review Ohio bands?
Oh, that was something that actually started here within the past 2 months, I want to say. I've been doing bands that I liked, who had new music coming out, stuff like that. But growing in this space, you kind of got to differentiate yourself. And I was like, you know what? No one really is doing specifically Ohio. And then I was like, that gives me more opportunities to get on and meet bands. If someone's playing in California, I really can't go do much. If someone's playing an hour away, I have more opportunities to go meet them and go to shows and have fun. And it's just kind of really quickly grew into something. So
yeah,
I'm glad I made that decision.
I mean, I think it's great. I've watched your podcast a couple of times, because I'm like, all right, I really want to hear this guy break down this band and really like break it down, And then what really intrigued me was when you shared a little bit about mental health on your channel, and that's why I said, all right, I need to reach out to this guy and get him on Shape the Podcast. But so welcome to the podcast, number one. You go by Bald Guy Reacts on Facebook and on Instagram and on YouTube, but your real name is Richard.
Yes.
That is correct, right?
That is correct.
All right, so why don't you? I mean, I pretty much have introduced yourself already, but for those out there who don't know you, go ahead and introduce yourself, and then we'll just get going on your story.
Okay. So my name is Richard Johnson. Like Kyle already said, I go by Bald Guy Reacts online. I'm 33, live in Marion, Ohio. Got a beautiful family, wife who in December will be married for 14 years. We've got 2 beautiful kids. I've got Dominic, who's 8 and also has trisomy 21, also more commonly called Down syndrome. And we have a 5-year-old daughter who's named Jaina, and she is awesome and sassy. That is pretty much my life in a nutshell. And I've always enjoyed music and just kind of started doing this thing that was actually recommended by my wife. The whole channel was my wife's idea, so I definitely thank her for that.
Well, I mean, they say that behind every smart man is a even smarter wife.
100%.
I think a woman came up with that.
More than likely, probably so.
Just a guess. I mean, a mere observation.
But yeah. Richard had on his kids prior to the live, and I tell you, cute kids, well behaved. That Dominic, I think he could be a handful, a little mischievous little booger.
Oh, absolutely.
But let's just go on to your story. Start wherever you want to start at, and then I'm sure Jason probably has some questions lined up, or I could think of some.
Okay. So, like I worded it, my story, I kind of want to start at the end just because that's where my mental health journey kind of began. And there's a lot of my childhood that I really don't remember.
Is it worth remembering though? Probably not.
Yeah, I don't know. But my journey kind of started here. Might as well say, earlier on this year, I had been kind of in a downward spiral mentally. I'd been very distant, not present with my wife or kids. And we kind of got to that point where my wife finally had one night where we sat down and she's like, I can't. She's like, I've been trying for a very long time to help you and be here and stuff, but she's like, I physically can't anymore. And we were kind of at that point where I had a wake up call. And then it was on top of that, along with the channel, brought an opportunity where a friend at work recommended I check out the band Nerve from California, and I did some reactions to their videos, and their drummer found the channel, started watching the videos, commenting, talking to him, and he ended up guest listing me to a show where Citizen Soldier was the headliner, and it was that night that seeing the people affected by their music and how powerful and moving it was that I finally made the decision to get the help I needed. So that was kind of where my mental health journey started.
So you're talking about that. What do you think was the major downfall with you not being present? I mean, even though you were present, you were there. You as a father, and as a husband in a fatherly way. But what was the reason, do you think, that you weren't there and for her and her life?
I think that there was a lot of times where some of the, I guess, traumatic things I'd been through. The most traumatic thing that I had experienced, I was in a house fire. It started here at home. I was asleep on the couch, and that night I think sparked a lot of PTSD and from I experienced that. We were out of our house for like 9 or 10 months, and finally moved back in. Found out that we were expecting a child. When it was finally time for him to be born, he was 3 weeks early, and when he was born, it was a very, very long labor. It was like 26 and a half hours for that, which of course was harder on the wife. But
yeah, I mean, sorry, buddy, but you did nothing. Your wife
absolutely harder on her. Yes.
Yeah. 26 hours. You just did 26 hours of. Oh my God! How come he's not here yet? She did 26 hours of fucking pushing and everything. So yeah, sorry, Richard. I have to say.
Yeah. And so when he was born, it was we noticed that he was kind of weak, and we weren't sure. Maybe it was because he was early, and the doctors basically came in. They brought him to us. We got to see him for a few minutes.
Yeah,
and then like an actual doctor came in, and he was basically like, "Hey, we looked at your son. We think that he's showing some characteristics that he has Down syndrome. We're going to be transporting him to Nationwide Children's Hospital in Columbus." And he's just like, "I'm sorry." And he just walks out, and like my wife and I know I don't think my wife knew much, if any. But we were like, what exactly does this mean? And they were trying to put a breathing tube in him and stuff. And, I followed the ambulance from the hospital he was born at down there, watching paramedics over top of my son, doing stuff, and just praying the whole way that he wasn't going to be gone. I didn't know what it meant. I had no clue of anything about Down syndrome at that time. And then we were down there with him in the NICU for 29 days. I had to go back to work after a couple weeks. My wife had to leave. So she was there. And then 6 months later after that, my father passed away at home. And I'd like to get more in depth, but I guess to kind of give a rundown of what I think started that, it was just like one thing after another of my dad passing away. I spoke with my birth mom the day that he passed away, and she celebrated his death on the phone with me. And it was just like one thing after another. And I got into a very angry, dark depression, which I got through most of it. But then coming out of it, I feel I was still pretty lost, because there were, a lot of days that I would wake up in the morning and just not be able to communicate with anyone. And I wouldn't be in a bad mood, but I just ask me yes, no questions. And that's pretty much all I can give.
Yeah.
And, it definitely put a strain on things. So, it kind of some of that's what's led to this point. Did start drinking after my dad passed, and the whole thing with my birth mom. And
so you're
very angry.
You're talking about that. And by the way, for those of you who don't know what Down syndrome is, it's caused when there's an extra copy, like an extra chromosome, right? Which really means that they're just awesome. Right? They just get extra chromosomes, So, but yeah, I mean, for that, the doctors and everything to be like, "Oh yeah, he's got Down syndrome," and then you're looking at each other, okay, what does this mean? Which now there's testing out there now where you can get your child tested beforehand to find out if they're going to have any birth defects. It's really weird. My son's mom did it, and I was like, "What? You can?"
I was just going to say when my wife was carrying Dom, the test that they had at that time. So we also had a hard time conceiving. It took us like 5 years before we were able to conceive our first child. And they had one test that was like a 50-50 chance, but it had a 0% chance on causing anything with the pregnancy. And the test that was 100% accurate, had like a 50% chance of causing something to happen, and we were like, we don't want to take that risk. So
yeah, that's a pretty big risk to take.
So when they rushed your son to National Memorial Hospital, was that the correct name?
it was a Nationwide Children's and
Nationwide. Yep.
Yeah.
So when they took your son, obviously you were able to go or follow.
Mhm.
Was your wife stuck at the hospital where she was in labor at? Or was she able to get transferred as well?
That hospital had a policy where you were required to stay for 24 hours, but given the circumstances, they asked her to stay at least 12 so they could make sure that she got the care she needed after giving birth. And then she was able to come down there, but she had to stay in a wheelchair.
Gotcha.
But still, you're the wife of a child who just got taken away from you because of a birth defect. Whisked away to a hospital a couple hours away, I'm assuming, and yet you can't leave. You have to stay there.
Mm-hmm.
Like that would weigh heavy on one mental health for sure. You know,
And he was born at like 12:01, and by the time everything happened and we got down there, I think it was like 3 or 4 in the morning, and I remember getting down there and. That time things were different financially, and like I had to park my car in a parking garage, and I was like, I don't have any money to get out of the parking garage. I have nobody with me. The hospital, he didn't have a name yet technically, so when he got there, he was Baby Boy Johnson. And I walked in and I just started walking in offices because most of that place was closed at the time except the emergency, and the places with 24-hour care. So I'm just walking in offices. I was like, my son just got here. I don't know where he's at, but I need to find him. And they're like trying to help me find out where to go to find him. And I finally got up to his room and I got to see him. And if I can find the picture, I'll send it to you. But I finally got to see him, and he was wrapped up in blankets and had a breathing mask on it over his nose and stuff, and got to hold his hand for a couple seconds. And then the team was trying to do something with his umbilical cord. I don't remember, but I got to see him for like a minute, and then they asked me to leave so they could do a procedure. And I just kind of sat in a cafeteria and cried for a little bit because I didn't quite know what to do.
So you brought up with your mom and your dad, and I know that you talked about that some on your, the story that you sent us. Do you feel like diving more into that?
Yeah, I'll dive into anything. So with that story, so I grew up with my real father. I did not grow up with my birth mother. I was the result of an affair. And I didn't, other than when I was a baby that I don't remember, I found and got to meet my birth mom when I was like 23-ish, 22-ish, somewhere around there. And it was within a year and a half that happened. And so, with that, it was just kind of, I knew I had to make that decision ultimately, because when the day that my dad passed away, and, we were trying to come to grips with that. And I spoke to her on the phone, and I honestly don't even know why I felt like talking to her on the phone, but I did. And when I informed her that dad had passed away, she was, kind of snickered a little bit and said that he was a piece of crap, and she really wished that he had passed away a lot sooner than he did, to keep it more PG.
Yeah, I was
like, that he raised me, right? Like,
yeah.
Given there were some other circumstances, but I was like, he was at least there. You weren't. And I haven't spoken to her since, and that was in 2017.
I mean, that's just, I don't know, like I get it. Adults, they go through those things, but still, nobody should react that way. You know what I'm saying? I mean, nobody should react that way when anybody dies. I mean, and that just doesn't go for a loved one. that goes for anybody. As you've seen here lately, with all the deaths that have happened, and how people have reacted. Like nobody, especially if it's a loved one, nobody should be put through that. And so that had to most definitely weigh hard on you. Being that your mom wasn't as present as your dad was. And yeah, I get it. The upbringing probably wasn't number one, but at least he was there, So I don't know. That's just like for me. I'm adopted, so my birth mom died when I was young.
Oh man.
So I can't say whether or not what you dealt with, I would have dealt with, but even with my son's mom, when she passed away, even though we weren't together, I sure as hell would not have acted like your mom acted.
Yeah, it's just one of those things of being human. Yeah. Even if those were her feelings, she could have kept it to herself. She didn't have to say it.
Well, some people just don't know better, and some people are filled with so much anger and resentment within inside themselves that they're like, all right, you know what? I don't care if I hurt this person, and that's just I don't care. I don't, and I'm saying this for anybody, that's not the way to handle situations like that, So golly, yeah, so compounding. I mean, it's all compounding.
Yeah, I think that was just what kind of kickstarted my anger. I think prior to that, it was more so, some depression, and then after that, it was just a lot of anger that I had started bottling up, and it came out.
Yeah, I mean, I too would be depressed if I had a bald head. It's okay.
It's not that you save on haircuts. I'll tell you that.
I just had to make a light joke of that, but yeah, it's like you never know what somebody's going through, and I think just people's reaction sometimes is a little too much.
When you say things, you almost have to think to yourself beforehand, what good or what bad does this do? And if it's something that doesn't do any good, just keep it to yourself. There's no value in it. If it doesn't perform any good function, it's of zero value. Don't say it.
Yeah. It's a moot point. There's no reason to.
Right.
Yeah. So let's let's move on from that. You're dealing with that. What was finally what made you realize, okay, I need to work on myself, but I also need to work on this marriage? Because obviously, I mean, you have two kids with your wife, they come first, you're and your wife's a part of that equation. What was it one day that you just said, okay, enough is enough. I'm tired of feeling the way that I felt, what was it? What was the catalyst?
I mean, a lot of it was realizing that I was on the brink of losing everything, per se. I love my wife. She's my best friend. Couldn't imagine doing life without her. And then, I realized, and this is the weird thing looking back, is that at that time when she said, I've had enough, I had already had times where I sat inside my home ready to take my own life, and had never said anything to her about it. And
why is that?
Now that I'm healing and I'm looking back on things, looking back at those nights, inside my mind, I thought it was completely normal. Like, I thought it was no different than like if I went outside and had a cigarette. And both of those nights, I thought about just driving off somewhere and making it seem like I had just left.
Yeah.
And realizing that for whatever reason, at that point that I was on the verge of and ready to do that to her, to my kids, and never see them graduate, get married, start a family of their own and things like that. It was just kind of that night that my wife said that, I took a minute and sat back and started thinking about that, and realizing that I needed help. And I had talked to her before. It wasn't until April or May that we started counseling, but I'd started talking about it and becoming more open. But I was still fairly closed off in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm.
And so making the decision to start marriage counseling was the first step. And then after a month or so of that, I finally made the decision of also getting my own
there you go.
therapy. So, currently doing both, and that's brought a lot of realization. When we started counseling, I started recalling things from my childhood. So it started opening what I had.
Yeah. Like you already had wounds that were quote unquote healed. All right. That you'd put in the back of your mind. And then all of a sudden you start this counseling and poof, here they come. It's like the Kool-Aid man busting down the wall, and which here's the thing. I'm going to say this, and I'm going to say this to everybody. Geographical cures, up and leaving, suicide doesn't help anything. If anything, it creates more chaos, more anger. Don't do it. Like I've been there. I've moved multiple states thinking that my life was going to get better until I reached the state that I'm in and realized, all right, it's geographical cures were not the thing, but it takes a strong person though to realize, all right, I'm gonna lose more than what I already lost if I don't get the help, because your family and your wife, what's more important to them, job's a job, cars are cars, places to lay your head are one thing, but if you don't have that family, you really have nothing,
And it's one of those weird things, because even as I've gotten better and I journal, I reflect on a lot of things. I've started, recalling things from my childhood. Like I've had dreams about childhood trauma, which is just a whole nother thing. But it's opened up my mind to like, okay, like, hey, like you had this closed off. I started learning the reasons why, and I was like, I've got to talk about it, and it made me start talking to my wife, because I'd wake up and I'd start remembering things I dreamed about.
Yeah,
and crying and talking and journaling, and it's all helped so much with the healing process. And just since, like I said, April or May, so we're going on like 4 or 5 months now of being in therapy. And this past Sunday, I was making breakfast for the family. I like doing that on Sundays. And I was goofing off with the kids and acting like I was a dinosaur making breakfast, and had both the kids laughing and stuff like that. My wife looks at me and she's like, "It feels really good to have my best friend back." And it's crazy to me what my mind was doing, and during that time I didn't even realize it. Like I mentioned, I realize now that I never looked at myself in mirrors, which I thought was kind of weird. But when I started realizing it, it was like I didn't want to actually see what I looked like. I didn't want to see that person looking back at me, because it wasn't me. And it's made me realize just how crazy and how powerful your mind is if you don't take care of it, and get the help that you need, because it can control you. And I've done and said a lot of things that I wish I could take back, but I can't. But what I can do is control what I do moving forward, which is, why when you reached out to me about the podcast, I was like, I want to do that because I want to hopefully inspire someone else that maybe they're at that point where they're like, do I get help? Because I was that same person. I was like, I'm a man, I can handle it. And everything going on, I obviously couldn't, because I was a stranger in my own home. To, just inspire someone, like, if you feel like that, if you feel like you're a stranger, if you feel like you look in the mirror and it's not you looking back, take that step and get the help. Don't man up about it. You can do it. You don't have to be alone.
I think we've all had those moments to where, like, we look in the mirror, and even though we see the shell of the human we are, we don't see who we truly are, and I mean, everybody's had that, that's why some people color their hair red, or
I'm going to do mine yellow tomorrow.
Yes, but that's why
it'll just look like a stripe down a highway, though.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'll do that.
No, I'm just giving Jason a hard time, but it's like I think everybody goes through that phase, to where it's like, okay, I see myself in this mirror, and I look at myself now, and I'm like, all right, what can I improve on today that I didn't do yesterday?
Mm-hmm.
Or what can I improve on today, instead of saying, hey, I'll do it tomorrow. Well, what can I do today? That's what I do, and one of those things was getting rid of my mustache. No, it wasn't. But, but I think that's very important for people to do that, and of course, nobody likes to look at themselves in the mirror, because, like you said, they don't want to see the person that they are, but yet I think it's perfectly healthy, perfectly fine for us to do that, because then that'll help you say, okay, I'm not the person that's staring back at me. What do I need to do to become that individual?
Right.
And you're on your journey to do that. Like, if I remember correctly, one of your things that you brought up was you went to Incarceration Festival.
Yes.
And that really helped. Like that was an eye-opening moment for you guys, to do that, which I think is great. I think music in itself is therapy.
Was Incarceration the event that they were giving out tickets at the Cyan Tattoo Comp?
It was, yes. And
that's a
next
music
year
festival in an old prison or something.
Yeah.
I remember. Yep.
Yeah, in Mansfield, Ohio, every year there's a 3-day music festival called Incarceration. It's music and tattoos, which next year at Cyan in March, shameless plug, there will also be a pair of general admission tickets and a pair of VIP tickets that will be auctioned off as well for that. So.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I'm currently waiting on tickets to go on sale for next year. So,
well, maybe you don't have to, sir.
Hey,
just come down to Dayton, Ohio next March, and you could win you a set of general admission tickets or a set of VIP tickets. Yeah.
Oh man, which would be it's a hard thing with that festival, because when they go on sale, they're a lot cheaper than if you wait and they have tiers. They get a lot more expensive.
So. Not to go off the mental health journey, but in the past 2 years that we've done it, it's been like a couple $100 that these people have got these tickets, and the past 2 years it's been the same person get the VIP tickets. It's been different people get the general admission, but it's been the same person that gets the VIP, and I'm sure if he's there next year, he'll probably get the VIP tickets again. But just a shameless plug. You have a beard. It's a family friendly event. We'll
It's
see you in
not as
March.
big as you guys is, but I like it.
But it's not the size that counts.
Nope.
That's what they say.
It's a great beard. I like it. I was gonna say real quick, Jason, if either of you are trying to make a connection with the prison that incarceration takes place at, is the prison where the Shawshank Redemption was filmed.
Yep.
Oh,
So you've seen the prison.
It is.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
I've been inside the prison. I was at a beard competition at that prison. Yeah. So there is a club, but real quick, they had a beard competition at the Ohio State Reformatory there in Mansfield.
Okay,
So,
that's cool. Heck yeah.
Full circle. All right.
I
But,
didn't realize until recently how big the beard community was. So,
It's
Yeah.
I mean, you've gotten to know a lot of it through your podcast, which I'm sure, and doing your podcast that helps with your mental health as well. You know,
Mhm.
because it gives you something to think about. You know, it gives you something to research, and instead of dwelling on the negative aspects,
Mhm.
Here you are doing this research on these bands, so you're growing within yourself, right? And I'm sure that you've asked your wife a couple of times, "Hey, honey, you know what do you think about this?" You know, so
Mhm.
the communication is there with the growth. So
Like early on when I started it was more so just kind of getting used to it. But eventually I started thinking about how metal music has always had a rap of being like angry music, and it's just people screaming into a mic about, whatever. And at some point I made the shift, at least initially, of listening to the music and trying to decipher the lyrics and what mental health I thought was behind that, and bringing out the positive side of it. And more so, that was me also making connections for myself on like, okay, I feel like this, I need to listen to this song because it made me feel good or not alone, or it helped me. And so I started doing that. And
yeah,
I was literally just filming my own music therapy sessions.
so there is a band that I like. That they're no longer around, unfortunately. They've all split up and went their own little ways. But they were a hardcore Christian band. Okay.
Okay.
Now I'm not a Christian, but I do believe in spirituality. But they were from Pennsylvania, and they were called Those Who Fear. Okay. But if you look past the music and concentrated on the lyrics, that they were powerful,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that's with anything in our life. If we break down our lives into segments, like onions, like
Yep.
onions have different levels of that make up an onion. Once we start peeling back each level, we really, as a human being, we really get to see how we truly are.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And where we come from. So, I mean, that's great that you're able to do that now, and it's got to be just for you and your wife, and for you and your kids. It just has to be very like peaceful and eye opening to where
It's one of the things that's really helped. Like this year, the funny thing is, like, it's been my wife and I joke about this all the time. It's been the best year for us and our family.
Mhm.
It's been the worst year for the tests, just like stressful situations that have happened. And like it's constant. Like I haven't had a toilet in one of my bathrooms since incarceration. That started July 18th, and I'm still working on getting contractors set up and insurance. Like it's been a 3-month process almost, and it's been I've had my car broken into. I've had stuff stolen, and it's just been like a constant thing, but my wife and I working on things have been able to talk through it and work through it and not have it just be like, I've looked at her multiple times. I was like, a year ago, this situation, we would have been screaming at each other probably and not talked for like 4 days and wasted a lot of time. But we've been able to come together this year. So even with some of the crazy things that have happened, it's been great timing. And hopefully some of it ends, because I'd like to have 2 bathrooms back in my house with 4 people here. But
Nah, who needs 2 bathrooms with 4 people?
I've had a bathroom gutted for 2 years now that I haven't put back together yet. So don't push it too quick, because you're going to make the rest of us look bad.
and I'm sure his wife Amy has probably said, Jason, we need to get this bathroom back together.
I wish I knew how to do it myself, because I'm not that handy. I feel like I'd mess something up and it cause a bigger issue, but yeah.
Just because I haven't done it yet, Kyle, doesn't mean she needs to give me a reminder every 8 months.
Is
I'll
that
get
it, really?
to it.
Every 8 months?
No, it's like every 2 months for the last 2 years.
But by the way,
that being said, I
should
should have gotten to it a long time ago.
what is up, Elegant Sasquatch, aka Chris Davis? How you doing, sir? But yeah, and that could also help, sir, with your mental health. You get that bathroom in order, okay? Happy, of course. Jason will say this is also a woman came up with this. Happy wife, happy life. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, no doubt that was made up by a woman.
To get that extra bathroom in order, all right? I mean, here, I have a solution. Get you a porta-john, okay? Get a porta potty and set it outside in line with where that bathroom would be at, and say, honey, the bathroom is in order now.
Yeah.
You might not be able to take a shower, but you can use the bathroom.
It's only a half bath, so the porta potty satisfies all the requirements.
Yep. You're welcome. You can thank us later.
Or if it happens to be
Kyle.
raining outside, it's a full bath. So.
True. Very true. It's a convertible.
I'm gonna need you to tell that to your wife after you get off the show. Both of you, okay?
So it's the bathroom that is immediately inside my front door. So I could stick it. It would be the same distance away, just on the outside, not the inside.
Yeah.
So it works. It really, the premise works.
And here's the thing: you're the HOA president, so nobody can come down on you. You're the HOA president.
Yep.
I'm glad I don't live in an HOA.
See, there you go. Bathroom issue
solved. A lot of
trouble. I hope your wife is watching this. I'm not a plumber.
She's the only one at the moment.
No, that is Elegant Sasquatch. But yeah, so I like to make light of some things sometimes, but it's
you have to.
It's pretty amazing though that you were able to see all these things to help your life, and that you're not stopping. Because this is the thing, and I've been there. Everybody's been there. I'm sure you've reached that plateau. Okay, it's just like growing a beard. You reach that plateau in growing your relationship, and things just become stagnant. Like everything's fine, life is good, but if you don't continue to grow and really concentrate on the help you need, then you'll stop growing, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And it's like, to just to go back on and reflect on things a little bit, like for years, I always felt like it's my wife's not doing enough, like she's not helping enough, it's this, it's that, it's this, but it was never me. And then I finally was like, I need to get help. And within 4, 5, 6 months or whatever, it's completely changed everything for us.
Yeah.
And I looking back, not to be like I regret anything. I think that I was kind of shaped and molded for certain reasons, but wishing that you would have got help sooner. But I think I got help at just the right time.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be
You have to be
a
ready.
story that my wife and I can look back on and be like, we made it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's
Yeah.
like I said, this December is going to be 14 years that she's put up with me. So,
What day in December?
December 17th.
14 years and a lot of Christmases.
Yep, a lot of Christmases. a lot of opening stuff for the kids.
So you said you guys are going through marriage counseling, but you're also going through individual counseling. Has she also looked into individual counseling as well?
I actually decided, her and I were going to a marriage counseling session, and I decided prior to that I was going to say that I wanted to get my own. And when I said that, both our therapist and my wife's jaw both dropped, and they're like, "What?" And I was like, "Yeah, I think I want to get like my own too, just to dig further and make sure I'm on top of things." And my wife's like, "Well, if you're doing it, I'm doing it." So she's in it too.
I mean, it's good, and I say this to everybody. I had a conversation yesterday with a friend of mine that's going through some hard times in his life, and I tell people all the time that this podcast is my therapy, because it has. This podcast has helped me grow a whole lot, But therapy is not a bad thing,
No. I always thought it was.
No,
and that's why I just had the mindset like, no, I'll handle it myself. I have self-help books right behind me. I was like, no, I'll figure this out. And I was just reading books, but it was kind of just like throwing mud on a wall and expecting it to turn into something beautiful.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't what I needed.
I mean, I went through it as a teenager. I went through it as a young adult. It's not, but the thing is, we have to, as individuals, you have to put that out of your mind. And here's the thing: a therapist isn't there to agree with you. Okay, a therapist isn't there to tell you what's right or what's wrong. They're there to guide you, number one, but number two, that that they try to see the good and the bad in everything. When it comes to that, so I tell people all the time, therapy's not a bad thing.
I can attest to that. I mean, early on when her and I were going, our therapist told me I was wrong. I was like, she's gonna side with me. Nope.
They don't.
No, and which is a good thing. I mean, but no, it's been a very, very eye-opening thing, and has allowed me to reflect and make sure that I'm staying on track. And our therapist has said a few times that she's very impressed with what I've done in terms of applying it and taking it seriously, because and I told her, I was like, I was about to lose my best friend and my wife, and whatever situation agreement we would have with the kids, like it just wasn't what I wanted, and I didn't want to do that or put my kids through that. And if I was going to be here, I'm going to take it serious 100%. So it's not always been easy, but I'm going to keep doing it.
And it's never easy, and it, like you said, you're not going to give up. You're going to keep doing it, which is amazing, because I'm sure that there are a lot of people out there, one or two sessions in, they've probably been like, yeah, this isn't for me, but it's, it gets harder before it gets easier. That's the old saying. And I don't think that was made up by a woman, though.
No, that I can attest to that, because it, you guys are welcome to dig into this a little bit. I don't know if I don't remember if I put this on the synopsis, but when we started going to therapy and I started recalling things from my childhood of childhood abuse, with my dad primarily, and recalling, cases where I was thrown and choked and slammed into walls, and various situations like that. A lot of those times I was like, I don't know if I want to do this, because I don't, if I kind of felt like if I'm going to start remembering this stuff and it hurts, that there were a few times where I thought to myself, like, I don't know if I want to keep doing this because I don't like this feeling and I don't like remembering this. But I also knew at the same time that if I didn't, I was going to continue having those days that put my wife and I further and further away.
Mm-hmm.
So I instead used that and use those situations to talk to her and open up and become closer.
Yeah, well, that you did not want to turn into what your dad was when you were a kid, and that's good that you saw that, and that's good that you're continuing to see that, So keep on growing, you know what I'm saying? Like, and here's the thing.
I'm gonna keep on growing, but I promise you, my hair is not.
and here's the thing, and I'm sure your therapist, once you tell your therapist, hey, I spoke about this on a podcast, never be ashamed to share your story, because I'm sure when somebody else listens to this, and as a matter of fact, I'm going to send this to a buddy of mine after we get off, because he's been through some hard things with his wife. Never be afraid to speak about it, but you're speaking about it, but you're also being about it, if that makes sense, So that's pretty awesome in my eyes,
And I figured that's the absolute best way to heal, because it's so easy to bottle up stuff and not talk about it. But I did that for a lot of years and it didn't help me at all. So you definitely need to talk about it. If you don't have anyone to talk to, journal about it, something, get it off your chest, find ways to actually get it out of here and here, or else it's just going to eat you alive.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you coming on tonight and sharing your story. But before we wrap up the show tonight, if there's one thing that you could say to somebody out there who might be going through the same thing you're going through, or who might be contemplating disappearing, or just anything that's hard, what's one thing that you could tell somebody right now?
I would say that you don't have to do it alone. There are definitely people out there who will listen. And early on that can be hard, but I would just urge you to find that one small positive thing in your life that gives you hope, and focus on that. And then you can kind of start getting into a bigger and bigger picture, which is kind of like what I did. Because if giving up has a lot more consequences than you really think, but find just that one small thing, like I said, that gives you hope. Focus on that and start turning it into, I'm looking at this, and start just kind of opening up a little bit as you can. And don't give up, because you might not think it. I know I didn't think it, but someone out there does love you and they care about you.
That's the damn truth right there.
Yep.
Well, we appreciate you coming tonight, man. I think it's awesome. Keep up the work in your therapy, and everybody who has watched this and will watch this, go over and support Richard and his podcast, Bald Guys React. Check out the one he talked about with mental health, because it was really good, and we appreciate you, man. Thank you for coming on tonight and just being strong to talk about your story.
Richard, thank you for sharing.
Thank you guys for being here for me. I appreciate both of you very, very much.
Of course, we're always here for you.
Yeah, always here for you and anybody else. So we're going to kick you to the back, sir. We're going to wrap up. I'll be with you back in a moment, all right?
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen who have watched this and who will watch this, that is the podcast for tonight. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Shape the Podcast. Again, programming notes, the next one in 2 weeks, which will be on October 17th, not January, okay? It will be a pre-recorded episode. There are 2 episodes I can choose from. I just have to decide which episode to choose from. But we appreciate everybody for supporting us here. Share this podcast out with your friends, your family. We are 10 supporters away from reaching 100 supporters on YouTube. So it would be awesome to finally hit that 100 supporter mark. But
so if you're watching us on Facebook, what he's trying to say is, please go over to YouTube and click that like button.
Go over to YouTube.
Or subscribe. It's a subscribe button.
Yeah. Like our friend Chris Davis, who's watched tonight, who's watching from YouTube. All right. We appreciate it. Well, Jason, man, thanks for another great episode of the podcast. Thanks for coming on. All right.
Yes, of course.
I know, and the viewers, like I said, it seemed like it's been forever since they saw you live. But don't worry, you will see Jason on October the 17th podcast. All right. He'll be on there.
Well, now I know which one you're going to air.
Yes, you do. They don't, but you do. Well, everybody have a great weekend. Enjoy your night. If you need anything, reach out. If you need to talk, reach out. Keep Jason's daughter, Olivia, in your thoughts and your prayers. She's back home, and she's thriving from what I hear. But she can always use the extra push. So we appreciate you all. I appreciate you all. Have a great night, everybody.